close your eyes. You hear it, that low rumble in the distance, and just as quickly as it came, it's gone. Ever fall in love with something that disappeared before you could make it yours? For some, it was the girl at the diner. For others, it was the car. The 1958 Chevy Impala. 1 year, that's all it had. One blazing shot across the American highway, and then it vanished. So why did Chevy build something so bold, so beautiful, and then walk away? Was it too ahead of its time? Too risky? Or was it never meant to survive the storm that was coming? Maybe you remember seeing one low slung and long slicing down Main Street, dripping in chrome, tail fins slicing the air like shark blades. Maybe you asked your old man for the keys, and maybe he looked at you and said, "That's not a family car, son." Because this wasn't just a car, it was a statement. Loud, defiant, unforgettable. But behind its beauty, it held secrets. Chevy never advertised. Secrets they may have even tried to forget. There are 10 of them, and they're about to come roaring back. Secret number 1, it was never meant to lead. Here's something Chevy never exactly put in the brochure. The 1958 Impala, that long, low legend, wasn't even meant to be its own model. Not at first. It was just a Bel Air in a tuxedo, a trim package, a nameplate whispered onto a fender. GM didn't see it as a new chapter. It was an experiment. Nothing more than a chrome-drenched counterstrike against Ford's louder, flashier offerings. So they stretched the Bel Air, dipped it in jet-age fantasy, and rolled the dice. Triple taillights, a sculpted rear deck, side trim that looked like it was already moving. It was a gamble wrapped in glitter, and then something unexpected happened. People didn't just like it, they fell head over heels. It was turning heads, stealing hearts, and outshining everything else Chevy had on the lot. What started as a styling experiment suddenly became a phenomenon. The 58 Impala wasn't born to lead, but the road had other ideas. Number 2, the Sculpted cat that outsold expectations. They didn't call it the Sculpted cat because it looked pretty. They called it that because it looked ready to pounce. One glance and you knew this wasn't your daddy's Bel Air. The 58 Impala crouched low and wide, all muscle and menace. The tail fins didn't just rise, they flared like a jet clawing for altitude. The triple taillights glowed like afterburners. And up front, that massive chrome grille stretched across its face like a frozen snarl. It was wild, borderline, outrageous. And America couldn't look away. Chevy figured it might catch a little attention, but no one, not even the brass in Detroit, expected what came next. The 58 Impala roared past 181,000 units sold in its first and only year. It shattered expectations, stole headlines, and believe it or not, made the Corvette look like it was playing it safe. For a car that began as an afterthought, the Impala didn't just succeed, it dominated. Not just a trim level, not just a hit. It became the dream car of 1958, a legend in full stride. Number 3, hidden under its hood, a big block surprise. Most people remember the 58 Impala for its flash, the chrome, the curves, the sweeping fins. But pop the hood, and everything changes. Beneath all that shimmering boulevard style was a beast, Chevy's first ever big block, the 348 cubic inch turbo thrust V8. This wasn't just a stylish cruiser, it was hiding real muscle, and it didn't whisper. With up to 315 horsepower and an available tri-power setup, 3 2-barrel carbs working in harmony, the Impala didn't just glide down Main Street, it launched. It looked like a prom queen, sure, but it hit like a linebacker. It wasn't built for the drag strip, not officially, but in the hands of someone who knew what they were doing, it could shut down just about anything at a stoplight. Long before the GTO, before the Chevelle SS, the 58 Impala quietly laid down the blueprint for what a true muscle car could be. It was a sleeper, a secret, a beauty with bite. And if you ever heard it growl at idle, you knew this car didn't just turn heads, it left marks. Number 4, a victim of its own timing. Here's the cruel twist of fate. The 1958 Impala was born into a recession. Factories were slowing down, wallets were shrinking, car companies were cutting costs and playing it safe, but not Chevy. While the rest of Detroit tiptoed through tough times, Chevy went the other way, bold, brash, and unapologetically loud. The 58 Impala rolled out like a chrome-covered middle finger to the recession, and somehow, it worked. It became a symbol of defiance, turning heads and lifting spirits when everything else felt like it was shrinking. But the celebration didn't last. Just 1 year later, the winds shifted. The market wanted smaller, lighter, cheaper, and GM blinked. The 1959 Impala hit the streets wider, flatter, and stripped of the sculpted soul that had made the 58 unforgettable. Gone were the jet-age curves. Gone was the sense of motion. Gone was that first Impala, the one that made jaws drop and hearts race. For one shining moment, it felt like America was driving into the future, and then just as quickly, the dream was over. Not because the 58 failed, but because it was too bold for the world that came next. Like all great things born ahead of their time, the 1958 Impala was already a ghost by the time the future rolled in. Number 5. Designed to impress, not to last. Step into a Chevy showroom in 1958, and the Impala wasn't just a car, it was theater. Gleaming chrome stretched across every surface. The low, sleek stance looked like it was already in motion. Tail fins caught the light like wings ready to take off. Salesmen didn't have to sell it, they just stood back and let it sparkle. But behind all that showroom flash was a harder truth. One that most didn't want to admit. The 58 Impala wasn't built to last. It was heavy, overbuilt, riding on a fragile X-frame chassis that flexed and rusted over time. The body panels sagged, the trim pieces snapped, and after 6 decades, time hasn't exactly been kind. It was a show car disguised as a production car, a dream on wheels that didn't age with grace. That's why restoring one today isn't just difficult, it's personal. Every part is rare, every panel resists. Lining up the chrome, that's not a repair, it's an act of faith. But the people who take it on, they understand. Because they're not just rebuilding a car, they're trying to recapture a feeling, what it felt like the first time they saw it glide down the street, turning heads like it owned the world. That's why restorers call the 58 Impala a labor of love. Because chasing perfection in one of these isn't just about metal, it's about chasing magic. Number 6. Elvis. Drive-ins and cultural burn-in. The 1958 Impala wasn't just a car, it was the car, the one that turned every parking lot into a parade. Pull into a drive-in with one of these, and heads didn't just turn, they locked on. Neon lights danced across the chrome, the tail fins caught the last flickers of sunset. And from the jukebox came Elvis, Buddy Holly, Chuck Berry, the soundtrack of an entire generation. You didn't just drive a 58 Impala, you made an entrance. It sat outside diners like royalty, windows down, soda cups on the dash, radio crackling with life. It was teenage freedom on 4 wheels, rebellion wrapped in steel. First kisses happened in that front bench seat. So did breakups, late-night joyrides, curfews missed, and stories made. And even if you never owned one, you knew someone who did. Maybe it was your older brother, the neighbor down the block, or that cool kid in shop class who somehow had it all. Car charisma and the kind of charm you never forgot. Even if that car's long gone, the image stays with you. That long nose, those swooping fins, and the red glow of triple taillights disappearing down Main Street. Because some cars aren't just remembered, they live in people. Number 7. Collector gold, but only if you know what to look for. Not all 58 Impalas are created equal. You can line up 2 side by side, same model, same paint, same chrome, and they might look identical. But one's just a pretty cruiser, and the other, a 6-figure unicorn. The difference lies in the details. Hard tops get all the love, sure, but the real collector gold, that's found in the convertibles, especially the ones that came from the factory with the 348 tri-power setup. 2-tone paint, power windows, power brakes, original trim. The deeper you look, the more valuable it gets, and then it gets even rarer. Some early-run Impalas have build tags that collectors drool over. Others have quirky dealer-installed options, or factory mistakes that used to be seen as flaws, misaligned trim, off-color interiors, wrong emblems. Today, those once overlooked errors are badges of authenticity, and sometimes worth more than a brand-new daily driver. The 58 Impala, when you really study it, becomes a rolling treasure map. That forgotten car sitting under a tarp in your uncle's barn, it might have the right code stamped on the cowl tag. And that can mean the difference between a $25,000 project and a $125,000 auction star. Because at this level, it's not just about the flash, it's about provenance. And the people who know how to spot the hidden gems, they're not just collectors, they're treasure hunters. Number 8. The Triple Taillight Controversy. Ask any car guy what sets the 58 Impala apart, especially at night, and they'll tell you without hesitation, the triple taillights. 3 glowing red orbs on each side. Clean, bold, instantly recognizable. You didn't need a badge to know what you were looking at. It was unmistakably Impala. But behind the scenes at GM, those iconic lights sparked a firestorm. Triple taillights had always been Corvette territory. They symbolized exclusivity, power, prestige, the top of the line. Handing them to a Bel Air-based car, that was considered blasphemy by some of GM's upper brass. Designers were pulled into meetings, heated memos flew back and forth. Too fancy, some argued, too sporty. Others accused the team of diluting the Corvette's sacred styling DNA, but the Impala's design team stood their ground. They believed in the vision. They knew that taillight signature had the potential to become something iconic, and they were right, because when that brake pedal dropped and 6 glowing red eyes lit up the dusk, one small design detail, one near miss in a boardroom, and it became the feature that helped define a legend. Number 958 versus 1959. Why the Soul died in 1 year. The Impala name lived on. But something changed the moment the calendar flipped. In 1959, Chevy took a hard left. The graceful curves of the 1958 were flattened. The sleek, sculpted stance was stretched and warped. In their place, cat-eye taillights and batwing fins that looked like they belonged on a spaceship from a low-budget sci-fi flick. Some called it innovation, others called it a misstep. Gone were the jet-age lines. Gone was the motion, the elegance, the soul. Loyal fans felt the shift immediately. Because it wasn't just a design change. They didn't just lose a shape, they lost a feeling. The 1958 Impala wasn't refined or updated. It was erased, and that's why it became a one-hit wonder, a flash of perfection that never got a sequel. Like a melody so pure it only played once. The 1958 didn't have time to wear out its welcome, and maybe that's what makes it unforgettable. It didn't fade out. It vanished, while it was still beautiful. Number 10. It became a ghost that haunts car culture. Some cars age, some fade, some get restored, piece by piece, but the 1958 Impala, it became something else entirely. It became a ghost, not just remembered, felt. You still see it, on tattoo sleeves, on album covers, reflected in murals and dreamscapes, on the sides of lowriders cruising slow through East LA, their chrome shining like wet glass under neon lights. The 58 wasn't built to last, but somehow it never left. That 1 year only body, the ocean of chrome, the triple taillights glowing like red jewels in the night. Over time, they didn't just become recognizable, they became sacred, especially in West Coast lowrider culture, where the 58 still reigns as royalty. Builders spend years hunting for original trim pieces. Artists paint it into memory. Musicians name-drop it like a folk hero on 4 wheels. And every now and then, at a twilight car show, or tucked in the corner of a fading memory, someone swears they saw one, just floating down the street, Sinatra or Santana, playing softly through the static. It was never supposed to be iconic. Maybe that's why it became immortal. A ghost in chrome, still riding low through time. So now you've heard the story, the secrets, the soul, and the short-lived brilliance of the 1958 Chevy Impala. But let me ask you something. What did it mean to you? Did you almost buy one once? Did your old man own one and never let you behind the wheel? Maybe you just saw it once, cruising slow beneath neon lights, or rumbling past on a back road one golden summer night, and that image carved itself into your memory. Maybe it was the one that got away, and if that sounds familiar, trust me, you're not alone. Drop your story in the comments. Regrets, rebuilds, near misses, or dreams that are still sleeping under a dusty cover somewhere in your garage. Because the 58 Impala, it wasn't just a car, it was a feeling built out of steel, chrome, and pure heart. It wasn't just iconic, it was a heartbeat on wheels. And if that heartbeat still echoes somewhere inside you, then this story isn't over. Stick around, because next time, we're bringing another forgotten icon back into the light. Another name that deserves more than a footnote in car history. Until then, keep your memories alive, keep your engines warm, and always, always keep your eyes on the horizon.